June 12 was the date that INEC conducted presidential election, and the two principal actors were Chief MK Abiola, SDP, and this one from Kano, Bashir from Kano. And incidentally, I also participated very actively in that election. That election is adjudged to have been free, fair, and very credible. And that election was said to have been won, and I believe rightly too, by Chief MK Abiola. Maybe powers that were did not want him to be declared winner, but collation had been done in most states of the country, including Kano. Bashir Tofa was from Kano. There too, Abiola won, according to the late Adamuchiro, round and square. That election was annulled by the military government. It was very painful because the people spoke, and they spoke freely. They made their own choice. And there was no basis whatsoever for the cancellation of that election. We have learned quite a lot, Nigerians, from the annulment of June 12. I recall sometime in Kaduna, I think this was in February, those of us who were elected governors of the platform of the PDP gathered in Kaduna on the invitation of our leaders. Our elders were led by Chief Chula, may his soul rest in peace, and his deputy was Adamu Chiro. There were two items on that agenda: power shift and candidature of our party for the presidential election. It was a tough argument, power shift. No, we won't concede. We'll have to concede. We must do this. June 12 annulment had complicated the whole thing. It was finally agreed that we'll be alternating between North and South. And basically that is why anytime I talk about this, I try to emphasize this issue of rotation. In the North, we do 8 years in the North, in the South, 8 years in the North, 8 years, we'll be alternating. And that was sometime last year in Kaduna. Along with other ministers, I had to re-emphasize this. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was one of the leaders at that meeting, which was called by Chief SDLI. The lesson first is that the voice of the people must always be what? Supreme. It must be sacrosanct. That's the beauty of democracy. The lesson is so clear. We prefer the ballot to bullets. If an election is conducted very fairly, and one wins, no problem. The actors at INEC are not young people. They were adults when this thing happened. we were to take a poll at that time, over 2/3 of Nigerians would have condemned that act of annulment. Fortunately for us, those at INEC are men of honor and integrity and well-read. They are patriotic Nigerians, and they're determined to also make a difference. Never again will this happen in this country. You win, you win. You lose, go and prepare, you come again. Look at the American example. President Trump won. Later he said to have lost to Joe Biden. He didn't bring America down. He went back, prepared, and came back and won. That's the beauty of democracy. We have decided to embrace democracy. That is why, for 27 broken years, nobody has tampered with our democracy. We love the values and the morals of democracy. And there is no system that is as beautiful as democracy. It's not a democratic government that you can insult your president, insult anybody, and still go to bed and you don't receive a midnight knock at your door. Try it. And a totalitarian regime. God bless you and your family. Thank you very much.
A pattern of development that probably the city has assumed. Before Abuja was created, this place had a large number of livestock, including game reserve. When I mean games, I mean lions, cheetahs, so many wild animals were part of the Abuja area before this FCT was created. Now, when the creation of the FCT as a federal capital territory, everybody else was settled, minus the animal population that we see today within the city center. It's unfortunate that, or let me say, very fortunate and unfortunate. Very fortunate that 4 grazing reserves have been created for these pastoralists. Kau, Pakunkore, Kaishi, and one other, totally almost 3,000 acres. But since the creation of those and gazetting of those grazing reserves, there hasn't been any commensurate development to receive the pastoralists. However, when the creation of this ministry, we will have conversation with the FCT administration, and we are talking with other relevant MDS. I've actually visited Paikunkore and Kau. Kau in particular is our first pilot project. As I'm talking to you today, we have sunk 3 boreholes, we have put up a weather station there, and we are getting in there to begin the demarcation for the resettlement of the pastoralists in Kau Grazing Reserve. So we are on top of it. We have also had stakeholder engagement with Yeti Allah and other category leaders within the FCT, and we are still talking with them. The movement is going to be in the phased format. We are engaging them in a very, very democratic fashion, and we are also consulting other ministries that are relevant. I was just talking to my brother here, Professor Joseph, in terms of providing earth dams in those areas for purposes of cultivating pasture during the dry season. The reason why pastoralists move out from the north to the south is not cultural. It is a survival mechanism. These animals need water and fodder to survive. If you don't provide this fodder and water here, they go to where it's available. So that is what we want to stop them from moving. Rather, we create a condition where these animals will remain here where they are with sufficient fodder and water, rather than moving. And these movements are also crisis ridden. That, I believe, has taken care of the question from my sister from Real Broadcasting about national ranking policy. Actually, we have a plan to launch national ranking policy next week in Plateau State. We are going to do that, and we'll be giving the proper coverage with all my friends here in the social, electronic, and print media. So this is something we are on top of it, and we believe that is the best way to go and improve on the productivity of the livestock sector, as well as also improve on job creation and create peace and harmony in the rural areas. The numbers I have read out here about the livestock, they do not belong to the federal government. The government doesn't own livestock. We create the necessary environment for the thriving of those businesses. I believe there are many livestock as well. I think so many people here own livestock. So the numbers I've mentioned include what you also own. So the numbers are about 95% of the livestock resources in this country are in private hands. The federal government does not intend to take them over. They are in private hands, but we want to create that environment, enabling environment for these businesses to thrive, for people to get into livestock, ranching, dairy, piggery, poultry, or whatever it is. These are the numbers I have mentioned. Thank you very much.
Has given a very beautiful closing remark about the significance of June 12th. I'm a journalist, and I was part of what happened on June 12th. If I always recall that without June 12th, very early in the morning, I was coming from our production of a magazine, the English magazine, because I was in, I think there's a coffee or something, and we had to run to beat that coffee so I can join the queue. It was the first election that we had in our country where people queued behind the poster of the candidate. So it was very transparent. Everybody saw them. And they would count 1, 2, 3. And then right there, they declared the winner. And everybody knew across the country, everybody knew very early in the day who won the election. I brother did not win the election just as a Yoruba man. He got many votes in Southwest. He also won the most significant win in Kano, where his opponent came from, Ashim Tofa. Abela beat him there massively. So what Abela got was a pan-Nigerian mandate. A Yoruba man who defeated a northerner in the north, who defeated him in his own base. And I think the only place where he didn't do very well was the southeast. But in the south, Abela won also my place. So it was very disappointing for many Nigerians to host our journalists when that election was cancelled by the use of the word annulment. And that's what led to what we saw, the protests, and the so dejected that people were running out of the country, journalists were imprisoned, politicians were incarcerated, people ran away from Nigeria, and so on. And the military, they tried to hide what happened. They tried to tell us, oh, there was no winner, but there was a winner. I remember my own magazine, we published the result of that election, but there was a winner. As AGF said, the result has already been collated at all the states level. Every state already had a result. So we had a result from all the 124 states where it showed Abela won the election. So all these Nigerian officials were saying, presumed winner, assumed winner. There was a clear winner. And that was why it took many years before President Buhari did the needful by recognizing Abiola as the winner of the election, by giving the highest honor in the land, GCFR, which means he made him a posthumous president of this country. So June 12 is a day of democracy. A day that shows that we as Nigerians, we can go to the polling station, make our choice known, vote do we like, and then support any candidate we want to support, and we get a winner. So as for young Nigerians, I must tell you, there's nothing better than democracy, where you can make your choice, you can make it freely, where you can support anybody you support, and then the country is better for it. So we must keep this hope alive. Democracy is better than military rule. There are many minds and minds better than military rule. And of course, you know, usually some people are calling for military intervention. If you are deep under military rule, you never want military rule anymore. Democracy is beautiful. If you lose election in one time, wait for the next time. You can only go and sit in house and win, instead of allowing people with guns Joseph Kamara's coming to Lord Jehovah. So I want to implore you, even though we had some problems now, some kingdoms of business, let's enjoy June 12th. Let's celebrate together. June 12th, as Corpus Day, in fact, it keeps reminding us of the sacrifices made in the past, and we need to keep reminding even younger ones that we need to have a lot of faith in June 12th in democracy. Thank you very much, and I wish you happy celebration.